Okay, let's be real for a second. Have you ever set a huge goal, like a New Year's resolution, gone all in for, say, a week, and then poof, it just fizzles out? So frustrating, right? We think that to get massive success, we need some kind of massive, earth shattering action. But what if the secret to getting remarkable results was actually hidden in the tiniest, most insignificant little changes? Well, that's the core idea behind atomic habits, and we're about to do a deep dive into why it is so revolutionary. So let me tell you this story about the British cycling team. For the better part of a century, they were not good. I mean, since 1908, they'd won just a single Olympic gold medal. And in the Tour de France, which is like the biggest race in cycling, no British rider had ever won. It was actually so bad that a top bike manufacturer refused to sell them bikes because they were worried it would hurt their brand. Yeah, that bad. And yet, somehow, in a 10-year span from 2007 to 2017, this exact same team won 178 world championships and 5 Tour de France titles. It's now considered one of the most successful runs in the history of the sport. So the question is, how does a team of pretty ordinary athletes completely transform into world champions with what seemed like just tiny little changes? Well, it all kicked off in 2003 when they hired a new performance director, a guy named Dave Brailsford. And he had this strategy, this philosophy that was going to change absolutely everything. Brailsford called it the aggregation of marginal gains. The idea was actually pretty simple, but it was also kind of radical. He basically said, look, if you break down everything you can think of that goes into riding a bike and you just improve each little part by 1%, you're going to get a huge increase when you put it all back together. And when you think about it, that is a completely different way to look at improvement. And oh, they went deep. I mean, of course, they did the obvious stuff like redesigning the bike seats and rubbing alcohol on the tires for a better grip. But they didn't stop there. They actually hired a surgeon to teach the riders the absolute best way to wash their hands to avoid getting sick. They tested out different massage gels. They even found the perfect pillow and mattress for each individual rider to get the best possible sleep. They painted the inside of their team truck white just so they could spot tiny bits of dust that might mess with the bikes. Now, individually, all these things seem almost trivial, right? But you put them all together, that's what created a champion. So how does this actually work? Well, this isn't just a cool sports story. It's a really powerful mathematical principle that honestly applies to every single one of us. You know, so often we convince ourselves that real success requires some huge defining moment. We put all this pressure on ourselves to make one massive leap. But we consistently underestimate the value of just making those small 1% improvements every single day. So here's the crazy part. If you get just 1% better each day for a whole year, you might think you end up, 365% better. But that's not how the math works at all. You actually end up 37 times better. That is the incredible, almost unbelievable power of compounding. And just to flip that, if you get 1% worse each day, you basically slide all the way down to 0. And this chart just illustrates the whole concept perfectly. Habits are basically the compound interest of self-improvement. Look at that top curve. See how it barely moves at the beginning? But over time, the effect is just enormous. Those tiny wins, those little habits, they multiply over months and years into something absolutely incredible. You really do get what you repeat. But okay, there's a catch. And it's the very reason most of us quit. It's because the most powerful outcomes are always delayed. And this leads to a place James Clear calls the valley of disappointment. I want you to think of an ice cube in a cold room. Okay, you raise the temperature from 25 degrees to 26, nothing happens. 27, 28, even 31 degrees, still nothing. But then at 32 degrees, that 1 degree shift finally unlocks a massive change. The ice melts. All that work you did getting it to 31 degrees wasn't wasted. It was just being stored. Breakthroughs only happen after you've built up enough potential. And here's what that looks like in real life. We expect our progress to be a nice, neat, straight line. But in reality, it follows that compounding curve we just saw. And this gap, the super frustrating plateau between what we think should be happening and what is actually happening, that's the valley of disappointment. It's that moment where you think, I've been running for a month, why don't I see a change? And this is the critical moment where most people give up, right before the real results are about to kick in. So if we know we have to push through that valley, how do we actually do it? Well, this requires a pretty fundamental shift in how we think. It's time to forget about goals and focus on building systems instead. So, this is the crucial point right here. Every Olympian wants to win a gold medal. Every single job applicant wants to get the job. So, if both the winners and the losers have the exact same goal, then the goal itself can't possibly be what separates them. It wasn't the goal of winning the Tour de France that made the British cyclists so successful. It was their system of continuous small improvements. Let's break this down a bit. A goal is a result, right? Like cleaning your messy room. But a system is the process that actually keeps it clean. And think about it. Goals often restrict our happiness. We're always telling ourselves, oh, I'll be happy when I reach this goal. But a system-based approach lets you find satisfaction in the process, right now. And maybe the most important thing is, what happens after you achieve a goal? Well, it's over. A system, on the other hand, is designed to be continuous. It's all about falling in love with the process of improvement itself. And this is really the core idea. If you want to improve for good, you have to solve problems at the systems level. When you just focus on the process, the results really do take care of themselves. You fix the inputs, and the outputs will fix themselves. Which brings us to what I think is the single most important takeaway from this entire explainer. It's a phrase that I promise is going to stick with you. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Just let that sink in for a moment. Under pressure, we don't magically rise to the occasion. We just default back to our training, to our most ingrained habits. Your success isn't determined by how ambitious your goals are, it's determined by the quality of your systems. That is the secret to lasting change. So the question for you is, forget about the massive goal for just a minute. Instead, what's one tiny 1% improvement, one little system that you can start today that over time will lead you to a completely different and much better destination?